Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 253 of the Maritime Paintball Podcast. So my microphone is falling. My microphone stand is falling apart. Holy hell, I need a new one. That's getting. Oh my God, it really is actually falling apart on me. There we go. We got it. So, few things. One, I've got eventually at some point during the show, I'll be joined by Josh, who is the owner of Maghill Paintball here in New Brunswick, and hopefully he can make it on, and we can chat about his field. Brought him on back in the day, way back in the day. I think like 2 years ago, and we talked about Maghill Paintball because it was a brand new field that opened up, and everyone was super excited. And now we're going to chat about basically like where it came from, where it is now, and where it's going. We're going to talk past, present, and future. And then any topics you guys bring up in the comments, we'll talk about those as well. Yeah. So before we get going, I'm gonna do this a little backwards, but like before we get going, I just want to give a shout out to those who make the show possible. So real quick, let's talk about the four big sponsors. We got DefConPaintballGear.com. Great sponsors. They gave us a code Maritimes, MARITIMES. You can use that almost anything on their website and get 10% off. PB Swag Bag, another great sponsor. You can get wicked paintball gear sent to your door once a month. Using code MPP10, you can get 10% off your first bag. Tier 1 Armament, they've been with us since day one. They've got a website, tier1armamentstore.com. You go check it out. They've got all sorts of your mag-fed, tactical side things. And then Artful Dodger Beard and Tattoo. He's the guy that keeps my beard looking as glorious and luxurious as it is in this video. And then, of course, we can't forget, about the Patreon supporters. Oh, that's the transition's not supposed to go by. But we got the Patreon supporters: Alex, W, Dr. Rush, Jeffrey, Matt, Ryan, Tim, and Tony. All fantastic people for taking time, taking money out of their own wallets to help support the podcast, and I truly, truly appreciate it. I really do. I can't really put into words how much I appreciate it. If you are in a position to be a Patreon supporter and you want to be a Patreon supporter, you can head on over to patreon.com/Maritime Paintball Podcast and you can do that. Now, I got to fix this transition. Man, I got to fix that transition. That's got to be fixed. Something to do in a bit. My Facebook chat is just blowing up all over the place here. So yeah, so the four big sponsors and the Patreon supporters, please. I don't know what I was going to say. Either way, big fans of everybody, of the big sponsors and the Patreon supporters. So huge help. Sorry, the heat is starting to kick in, and you all know how weird I get in the bad heat. Yeah, so it is what it is. So Ponage PB's in the chat. Christopher Struck, what's happening? Tim Banks, Matt Sevejo. Good to have you all here. Ponage, I saw you just this past weekend. Actually, I think I did. Yeah, I did, didn't I? I think I did at Maghill. I'm pretty sure I did. It was a great time. I was, this past weekend we went to Maghill Paintball for their walk-on. There must have been 35, 40 people, which I know doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when the province is putting a limit of 50 on basically everything, it's a pretty fantastic, setup. So I think Josh is joining the chat now. There he is. Oh, I lost him. There he is. Well, we will get him in here. We just got to fix the video real quick. He's fiddling with something. He looks serious. Stuff's going. I can hear you. I don't know if they can yet. Give me 2 seconds here to fix your video. So yeah. Dude, don't worry. I live with Francis. It's totally fine. I know what it's like. I'm gonna have to start like telling her like, oh yeah, everything starts like half an hour later than it actually does. All right, let's switch over to, bam, there he is, Josh from Maghill Paintball, the owner operator.
What's up, everybody?
So man, yeah, was at the field 2 weekends in a row now, which is I guess kind of rare. People were like, "What are you're here more than you were last year?" And I'm like, you know what? I was.
I'm wondering if I've got a better video on the laptop than I do on. I'm using an iPad right now, so can you see me all right? Can you hear me all
I
right?
can see you fine. Oh yeah,
Okay.
I can see you fine.
All right.
Yeah, it's all good, man. We'll roll with it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry
All
about
right,
it.
let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. So let's talk about first of all who you are. You've been in the sport a while.
Yeah, I'd say I started playing when I was about 11 years old, so 40 something now. So about 30 years in the game, man. Yeah, it's been some time.
You can't have much more than that in the game. It's kind of hard to have much more than that. So you
started playing tournaments before airball even existed. So I mean, yeah, we go way back.
Back when the tournaments were in the woods. Everything was in the woods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's coming back to the woods now. I mean,
it is coming back to the woods.
Yeah.
It's funny, eh? Like, yeah, like it really did go full swing. I think paintball just got like so fast, and people were just like, okay, we're gonna slow this shit down. Let's bring it back to basics, right?
Scale it back a little. Yeah. You got it. We're loving mechanical coming in. You know, like the MagFed is making a big, big presence. I mean, you're seeing like a lot more players coming in into the sport that way. You know, you're seeing players transition from airsoft into paintball, which is different. Usually it's paintball to airsoft, so we're seeing some of that too.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that too. I'm seeing like when the idea that there's more the mechanical side of things is coming back, and people are just like, oh, I need to get back. Like you see a few more people coming back into the sport now that they're like, oh, I don't have to go up against little Timmy there with his $1,600 ramping machine. It's like no, you can. Right, his space gun. You can get to come and hang out and play some real paintball, and not just sit in the back left corner and just send paint down range. Kenny Sloan saying it's getting harder to cheat in paintball. It's true. It slows it down. The refs can actually catch what's going on now. Christopher Struck putting in the comments he started MagFed now, wants to try Speedy Ball. I hear a lot of people, I think it was just in the last 5 years, I think MagFed brought a lot of people to paintball. Mm-hmm. And now I'm seeing that growth. I'm seeing people go away from MagFed and they're like, oh, I want to try Speedball now. It's like, yeah, it's not that bad. Like, try it.
I mean, it's about playing all different types. It's like music taste, you know? I mean, you like country music, you like rap, you like hip hop, everyone has different taste of music, electronic music. Paintball's the same way, I love playing ball as much as I like playing speedball. MagFed's different for me. I mean, I have no experience playing that whatsoever, but I like the challenge, So I'm liking how you're introducing that more and more and getting more people into it,
100%.
I think it's part of the evolution of paintball.
Right. Now, speaking of like the evolution of paintball, your field is basically set up to handle all forms of paintball. Like you've got it all.
Pretty much that's been the vision, I did 10 years of touring, so played every major field in the U.S., participated in the MPPL and the PSP, and of course, my nickname was the Drifter, so I'd be the guy that would just be drifting away after the event, going to check out the booths, going to check out the fields, and having brought a lot of the experience back to the Maritimes, I wanted to develop basically what we've built here. It's taken about 10 years to do it. We started with Mission Paintball, and we had a great location, great business, model. It just wasn't the right time for us, so.
And that happens.
Finding property. I mean, this was it, location was everything. And it was just a matter of developing it, so build the speedball, build the town, build off of the town and grow it to what it's going to be. I mean, the vision is still to turn the major building that we have here into the operations center, which it is right now, but turn it into City Hall. Like ultimately, I'd like to have this farmhouse as a playable bunker. That's Hollywood vision, for this facility. So the first time I saw this spot, that was the idea. It was like, if I can turn that building into City Hall, it's going to be the first of its kind in Canada. So, that's it's kind of where we're going, Brad.
I love it, man. I know when I first stopped by, where was I? I was in. I don't remember why I was in Moncton. I have no idea why I was there. Anyways, I met up with Scott. Scott
Cameron?
Cameron, yeah. I want to say Campbell. I don't know. But Scott Cameron. And he was just like, get in the truck. We're going somewhere. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he took me to the field back when it wasn't a field. It was nothing. Like, you guys were just...
I think you were out when we were just building it. You might have had a sneak peek before we actually even constructed anything. I think we were just laying out the perimeter.
Yeah, you were just putting together the perimeter. I remember you were digging the... there was a pile of dirt, which eventually turned into the tunnel. I remember that. And you were hauling logs from one side of the field to the other. I remember that. Christopher Struck saying I have to make a trip out east again. Dude, you have to. Like, we're on... I think East Coast paintball is on the up and up. I know we lost a field in Nova Scotia. Seabreeze paintball did shut down, which sucks. They were a great field in Nova Scotia. But I really think the Maritimes could become a really great place to travel for paintball, not only because it's the Maritimes and we're a great place to travel to. It's so much cheaper to play paintball out here. It's,
well, I mean, we really can't charge our worth, to tell you the truth. I mean, if we were to ask the kind of price that they're able to charge in Ontario and Quebec, of course, it'd be driving around in Denali and I'd have a boat.
Right, exactly.
We just can't make that work here. Yeah. Our economy's different, and we have to provide a value and a good value. I think it's about repeat customers here and being able to ball more. I think that's it. Being able to play as much as we possibly can, make it affordable for the players.
And that's it too. It's you don't need, you can, I find in the Maritimes, you can afford to play speedball regularly, where in big fields, it's $120, $130, sometimes $200 a case of paint. Like, I can't afford that, that's outrageous. So, so what's going on with, how did you get, what's the question? I'm trying to get it out. My brain's not working because it's like 30 degrees. Maghill is, I don't want to say unusually, but it's unusually successful for a paintball field in the Maritimes. And what I mean by that is the majority of fields in the Maritimes tend to be wooden bunkers or barrels, like nothing. Yeah. But you've got full scale buildings. You've got, we now have access to like the roof of a 2-story building because of your field. You've also got, you just put back the airball field. You had airball, then you went to hyperball, and then we brought back airball. And the hyperball field ended up part of the town, which is great. And so, like, what's the secret to that? Like, why is it that your field is doing so well? And don't be modest.
Honestly, it's because we're players. Like I'm through and through paintballer. So I know what I like, and I know what works. So I just build the field the way that I like it. And I feel like having done it that way, paintball players for players, we're not operating it like a theme park. Where it's you build it so that it has a look, but it isn't functional. We've made it functional. Like, we actually play the field in order to set up our bunkers to be able to play a certain way. And that's what makes it so much fun. And that's what keeps people coming back, because we're paintballers, as owners. And with that being said, it's our passion. So we translate the passion into the field, and you see it, you really see it with how much detail and emphasis we put in the work that we do here. So.
Absolutely. I know, what was it, last weekend, the pizza guy showed up, and it was just like, where's Josh with the money? And Josh is on the paintball field. And we're like, dude, like, and so, and you've made, I know you've made changes after I've made suggestions. I know I ended up locking down a whole part of the field, and I was like, okay, you need like a couple more bunkers. And then the next weekend I went out and there was a ton of new bunkers. So it was great. And it plays really well. You can really
we actually have we have a phased development, and it's funny because we've got 15 acres here, and the idea is to construct multiple fields and expand into the woods and having wooden fields in the perimeter. We haven't even gotten to that part of it yet. So I'm telling you, by the time we're done with our vision here, we'll have 5 or 6 different terrains, Bradley. So it'll be a mini Mirabel, mini Commando,
a mini Commando. And, nothing wrong with a mini Commando.
Yeah, well, I mean, a mini Commando, you can see it, and I took a lot of business etiquette and business vision from Hugo, who's the owner of Mirabel Paintball. I would say, he's probably someone I would see as a mentor when it comes to developing the paintball field, the Mecca paintball field. So I'd met with him a few times and discussing how we could kind of do things a certain way to make it work. And equipment's been a big part of it, So we, the moment the EMEX became available on the market, we were the first field to have them in Atlantic Canada. I was on board right away, so excited about it. And when we introduced those to the players, then it became, competitive. It was like you could use these rental guns and still compete with the guys that have the space guns or the tactical players that have, rifle barrels and, freak bore kits, that could shoot precision shots, you can actually compete with them and they're accurate. So that was kind of another secret to success, but
that was really cool.
The other thing is that we're so central, Moncton being the hub of the Maritimes, it isn't far, guys can come over from PEI. I mean, post-COVID, pre-COVID, you could come from the island, it's an hour drive. Fredericton, hour drive. St. John, an hour drive. You can come from Truro, it's an hour drive. Miramichi, so we're really an hour drive to get to our facility is really easy for a lot of people. And then we can pull from a bigger demographic. And
absolutely.
I think that's kind of a key to the success here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it truly is right in the center. It's easy to get to. Especially for me, I get on the highway and that's it. I just coast, right? And I show up and I end up at Maghill Paintball, and it's really great. I know you were talking about doing possibly doing MagFed only days once a month, and I had mentioned that to a couple of guys in Halifax, and they were like, "If there's a MagFed only day, we'll be there. We will make the trip."
We're all about it. I know that there's a couple of different brands of paint now that are going to be introducing MagFed specific paint.
Which
we're very stoked to bring that to the table and then have that available for the players as well. We're listening to the feedback from the players in order to kind of make that work. I'd love to have MagFed only games. We host some airsoft games. Airsoft New Brunswick comes out here and does a game every other month, so we try to accommodate them. For the MagFed community, that's the way to develop and build it is to host these MagFed only games where you guys can create your own scenarios and have the facility. I mean, we're open to everything.
I'm sorry. Comments are coming through and I'm trying to catch them.
Yeah.
Without ending the call, because I did that once and now I'm paranoid of it. Let's see. Yeah, let's see here. Mirabel's a nuts Mirabel is a nuts field to play at. It really is. Mirabel is a really cool field, but I feel like it's. I couldn't see myself playing Mirabel every weekend. Hell, I don't think I could afford it once a month. To be honest with you, it's such an expensive field. But I get it. It's in Montreal. It's.
Yeah.
Operation costs go up when you're in that ation. Ponage, people look at my MG100 and are like, whoa, and I tell them, no joke, it's the same gun as you. The MG100 is an EMEC, right? It's all it is. It's an EMEC that loads the wrong way.
I mean, Planet Eclipse did it right. They took the proven spool valve technology from the Geo system and then they implemented it into a rental gun. Then they put it into an advanced gun. Then they put it into a MagFed gun. The M170R, that's what I'm shooting. I mean, that's entirely the same bolt as the EMEC. You could just haul it the same bolt. You're talking an aluminum chassis versus a modular plastic body.
Right. And it's got an electronically triggered solenoid rather than a mechanically fired bolt. That's the only difference. It's just it's got some brains.
Yeah.
I mean, those brains make it worth the extra price you're paying for the, and that aluminum body is great.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but yeah, you're right. It's the bolt. It's still the bolt. And I know.
Same
so
engine.
When you, when the EMEC came out, a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people, because just this marker right here, I think kind of showed that Maghill is what a lot of fields need to do. Was the EMEC came out, everyone looked at the price and went, okay, that's relatively affordable. And then they went, oh, wow, this is actually a really well-made marker. It's not necessarily indestructible, but it's a really well-made marker. This could potentially be a decent rental marker. And boom, you had a fleet.
Yeah.
A lot of fields are still operating on that 98 Custom or that BT Delta or I've seen in some places, I've seen Piranha, which I don't know how they're still running Piranhas.
Even spiders.
Spiders. And spiders. Just these, and I mean, they were okay back in the day, but damn, upgrade. But yeah, you see rental kids coming out to the field, to your field, and they are running around with, a good marker, and there's no issues. They're having a better time than I was because my marker was chopping paint and theirs wasn't.
Well, we put the most brittle paint through the EMEX, and we haven't been able to chop a ball. We haven't been able to break balls with the EMEX. It's such a proven platform. I've had maybe one go down in a season. I've had one break, actually snap in half, but I think it was intentional. Fortunately nobody was hurt, but it was the grip and the foregrip on it. I think somebody put it into the ground to break it, but and that can happen. It's a rental gun, but when you look at the mechanical league in the States, and these guys are playing with EMEX, and the guns are wrapped in hockey tape, and they've got a really good barrel on it, and they've got an electric loader, and they're competing with these markers, and we have them as rentals. To introduce somebody to the sport that way, you're more likely to hook them to the game, and then they start with something like that, then they enjoy the sport. They have a gun that's going to work, it's going to be dependable. I've seen so many of these freak fringe companies that make these cheap paintball markers, and they literally blow apart. They never hold air. They're completely inconsistent, and that's what people are being introduced to, so that they're not going to enjoy it. If the gun doesn't work, they're not going to have time.
Yeah, absolutely. You're giving these kids these garbage markers, which probably the barrel is all chipped to pieces on the inside or scratched to pieces on the inside, and then you're giving them garbage paint, or at least recreation paint, or whatever you want to call it. So then you got bad paint, you got a crappy marker, and then you got the heavy steel tank, and all combined, they're not coming back. They're gonna play and they're like, what the hell is this nonsense?
I'll tell you wouldn't believe how many people come here asking to fill up CO2. These Canadian Tire and Walmart are still selling CO2 cylinders, and I'm not even familiar with a field that still fills them. I don't. We certainly aren't, and
honestly, I think
using CO2 anymore.
I think here in this area, honestly, I think Capital City was the last one standing, and he stopped years ago. I think it was
well, it became so expensive. I think it ended up being almost $1 an ounce. To fill the tanks. It
became expensive, and it's
get one full.
It's a pain in the ass too. It's so temperature sensitive, and you need so much more equipment to be able to siphon the CO2 out of the tank without just dumping liquid CO2 into the tank. And it's just apparently the sports dome still fills CO2 according to Ponage.
Oh, great. Well, we'll send people there.
Yeah, great. Why though?
Yeah, perfect.
Just get a compressor.
I have no idea.
Damn. I've seen some people though. Believe it or not, I've watched people fill CO2 with fire extinguishers, with the old CO2 fire extinguishers. You can get an adapter for it, and it's an entire fire extinguisher fills a CO2 tank because there's so much waste in between. It's ridiculous, absolutely wild.
Yeah.
So what's the future plans? Okay, so we've talked about why Maghill is so good. I could. It's like beating a dead horse at this point. Just the field is so damn good. It's so fun to play. and I've got to edit that vlog and get that done and get that up. But just an amazing time. Brian Photography.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah.
Tim, Brian, yeah.
Tim Bryan, yeah. Brian.
Yeah. And Alex, we had a couple other guys with cameras out in the field too.
I felt inadequate.
Maritime photography or Maritime Snapshot, I think, is another one too. So be looking out for some of their footage. I know it's nice to see the photographers on the field. I mean, some fields don't allow photographers, on the premises, and we have no problem with it. I think it's great for the sport.
Okay.
The more video, the better.
That makes me think of something. Okay. I want to ask you this. This popped up a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago now, and I kind of want to get your opinion on it. I never really pushed the idea with anyone else. Okay. So I was contacted by somebody. I was chatting with somebody, and they mentioned, and I won't say where, that fields were starting to ban photographers and videographers unless they were professionally hired by the field. So players were not allowed to wear GoPros. Players were not allowed to film on the field because what was happening is there's this, and I don't know if it's really growing. I don't know if it's paranoia, but apparently what was happening is a lot of these fields were ending up in videos that were just paintball cheaters. So these events and these fields are being filmed by wannabe YouTubers who realize that the quick and easy way to get likes and grow on a platform like YouTube is to cater to 9-year-olds and just use paintball fails or paintball cheaters as your sole 100%. This is the only content you make, and a bunch of events were featured in these. And what's happening is, I guess people are not going to these events because the quote unquote these events are full of cheaters, and I don't want to go. So the field owners are telling people you can't wear your GoPro, you can't shoot, you can't film. The only people allowed to are the professional photographers that we've hired who shoot the videos and shoot the film that we want. Is that? I think it's a little overkill myself. I think telling players like, yo, you can't wear your GoPro on the field. You've just sort of lost. You've lost an outlet.
We like to encourage it because it's an opportunity. I mean, sure, the footage coming out might not be the best quality, the video edits might not be amazing,
right.
But it's about having the media too, and sometimes you catch some action that, you just couldn't imagine, and you just happen to caught it on that GoPro shot. So right. I think, the more cameras, the merrier. And I mean, I like the idea of people, if someone catches someone cheating, then, and acknowledges it in a video, like we'd love to be able to police it that way, and be able to deal with it if this person is known as a cheater, and then someone catches it on video, it's almost like the races, going through the finish line. I've got the video finished, so I don't really have a problem with that. We kind of encourage it. So
there we go. I just wanted to pick as a field owner, I wanted to pick your brain. Because me personally, like if you were to tell me, be like, okay, you can't shoot photos or videos at the field, I'd be like, well, that sucks. That means I never get to really feature your field in any of my content.
Well, there's one thing that we probably wouldn't allow is people to profit off the photos or video. We had a fella one time, he just arrived at a walk-on, said, you mind if I take photos? And we let him go around and take pictures. He had a professional camera. He took some photos. Anyway, he made deals with people to buy the pictures, and then they paid him, and he never presented the pictures.
Oh,
so we ended up being, as the field owner, on the hook for this guy who had sold pictures on the side and never presented them. So we were responsible for it, and we ended up chasing around this guy who didn't have a legitimate company, and that was kind of an issue. So we don't allow people to sell photos anymore. I mean, I think that's something that we've outlawed, but we encourage people to take them, obviously safely.
I noticed.
We don't allow people to sell them for profit.
I was actually really surprised when the link was shared around with Brian Photography, and I was just like, oh, cool, okay, like these shots are, and typically when a photographer shares out that link, it's like, okay, it's a decent quality photo, it's okay, but it's like watermarked all to hell, so that way you can't steal the photo. Yes. These were fully edited, professionally done. Here you go, served on a silver platter photos. And I think the only thing he asked was just tag them in the Instagram and Facebook posts.
Yeah. Well, one of his photos was featured on Badlands on their Instagram official Instagram page. I think GI Sports had commented on one of the posts that was put out, and you start to target like the bigger community outside of our paintball region. So it's nice to be able to share it that way. We really appreciate the work that he's done. Aaron is starting to shoot photos from Maritime Snapshot, and
he's doing a great job.
He took some photos of you the prior walk on.
Yeah.
And they look awesome,
Yes,
so,
his edits.
Up and coming photographer. And they get their name out that way too, So I think it's an opportunity for them to be able to show off some of their work. And
that reminds me, I have to reach out to him because I think I'm going to hire him to do the MagFed event.
I think you should. The equipment's incredible.
Yeah. He does an amazing job. Both those guys.
I think Aaron and Tim, if you could get them on the field. Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to figure that out because I don't.
Yeah.
Photographers aren't cheap to have somebody for the day.
Video nowadays is so valuable. I mean, having video, people will watch them 100 times over. They'll look at a picture, swipe right. That's it. But a video, you'll watch it 100 times if you're in it. So
absolutely, especially if it's edited well. Oh, you get like some banging music with it, and I watch HK Army stuff all the time.
Definitely.
So comments come through. Somebody mentioned the Tippmann C3, as in like it could be worse. CO2. It could be worse than CO2. You could be running propane canisters.
Running propane, yeah.
I was telling Anthony about that marker, the C3, and he didn't believe me that it existed. So now I have to go message him and be like, you need to go look.
I was going to mention that a while ago, and you could get the propane tanks, the little green ones.
Little Coleman ones. Because somebody at Tippmann was just like, it'd be a great idea if we ignited small amounts of propane to launch paintballs. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Well, look at what Elon Musk did with the torch, Yeah, a roofing torch. He turned it into a blowtorch. So,
people will spend money on anything. Absolutely. So what's the plans for the future? Like, I've as far as I could tell, 2020 is just survive. If you could survive 2020, and we can get,
I'll tell you, I was worried we were going to be able to open. We were so unsure of the future of the field. I had people asking throughout the pandemic, can we come and play? Can we come and shoot? And we just followed the restrictions and listened to the community and made changes in order to accommodate people. But what we've learned through the social distancing practice is paintball is the perfect sport to be able to social distance. We're wearing masks the entire time. Most of the people are wearing gloves, and we're able to play at a distance. So providing people aren't in the staging area, masks off, moistly breathing on each other, there's no issue. And we've survived, as a community, the pandemic. So there are a lot of sports that are struggling right now, and a lot of team sports that aren't able to. You look at the NBA, you look at the NFL, the NHL. Team sports have crashed, but paintball survived. So.
It did. Paintball is surviving. We lost a couple of fields. I know, and the States lost some fields from just like they ran out of money. And it just goes to show how thin of a margin some of these fields run on. Like they miss a season, the field shuts down, they're done, which is a real shame. But yeah, your field is thriving. And honestly, I think it's going to be, it sounds terrible, but I think the later half of 2020 is going to be a really good season for you guys because there wasn't any paintball for the first bit. People are like, they're itching for it, right?
Yeah. So I think we keep our prices reasonable for the players, and we encourage memberships too. So the big thing for us is getting the return players. So we sell season memberships, and that gives people discounts on paint, and then free entry to these walk-ons. So our community starts to develop, and as we grow our membership community and our membership base, then our walk-ons become much more flourishing, and 30, 40 players every time. Sub 50. We're planning a big game for Canada Day because a lot of the festivities are canceled. Canada Day essentially is canceled from COVID. So what we decided to do on the Wednesday is have a big game. So we're going to have a 50-person registration, big game scenario on Canada Day, and encourage all the ballers to come out and play. It's on a Wednesday, but it's a holiday. So unless you're in the service industry, You know,
well, and
hoping to
most
get
of the
people
restaurants
out.
aren't going to be operating at full capacity anyway, so you could probably
That's right.
come play.
So Canada Day, we're shooting it up.
Ponage wants to know. So first, Canada Day is great. I'm gonna put that in the calendar and try to remember that I'm gonna go play paintball July 1st.
Yeah.
Because I have to skip out on next weekend because it's Francis's birthday. And
we'll get her a cake if you're here.
Right? Well, she's originally the plan was she was actually gonna get like all of her girlfriends together and get them to go play paintball. I was like, that'd be an amazing idea. But now she's more like, no, we're just going to have it at the house. I'm like, okay, we're still going to get them to go play paintball, though. Like, that's got to be a thing. Especially because apparently they want to meet the pigs.
Well, you know, you won't believe what we picked up the other day. So I'll probably, if I get a little break here, I'll introduce our new little friends that we picked up for the... I mean, we've always got something new here, you know?
It's
and
like,
our zoo's growing.
It's paintball / petting zoo. Like, it's... You know, it's great.
I'm going to text Ashley and tell her to bring over some of our new additions to the zoo. Yeah.
To the zoo. Ponage wants to know, is there any plans on increasing the size of the speedball field? It's kind of a tough one to do, but curious.
The speedball field is 120 by 150, net to net. We haven't accommodated, you know, space reffing on the sidelines, you know, but it is true 5-man spec. We've measured it out. It's 150 or 160 by 120. That's the length of our field. So it is real 5-man size. It just doesn't have the extra border because of the limitations that we have where we were. And, you know, we didn't want to be, you know, pushing the sidelines into the ditch. You know, we built those beautiful pits, and and we found that, you know, there's a time where people were not even playing here. You know, we would set up the speedball and there was 10 people that would show up. You know, 5 hours of setting up a field and you'd have 10 people. You know, we invested our time elsewhere. So it is, you know, like complete standard X ball size. And you know, you're hard pressed to even find 5 guys to play anymore. You know, 5-man is pretty much dead.
You're hard pressed to find an airball field, let alone 5 dudes to play. Like it's tough, man. Well,
we're really grateful for the hustle guys. You know, the hustle guys have been able to really make it happen here. You know, I think that they're only really maritime, you know, traveling team. They were supposed to be doing a full circuit. You know, in the States, I think they were planning to play the NXL for a full season, or even Boston. But with COVID and things changing, I mean, everything changed. So they were instrumental in making it happen here. So we're very grateful to having the hustle guys and Tyler Kerfoot and Luke and Caleb out here helping to boost the scene. You know, because speedball was pretty much dying too. You know, so we're giving it a little boost again, and hope to do some 3-man tournaments.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool. We were running this weekend playing. You had games running on both fields. You had you know, some 3-man stuff happening on the speedball field, and then you had some just regular paintball games happening on the town, and that worked so well. Like you could play speedball if you wanted. You could play some walk-on stuff if you wanted, like back and forth. And it gave me a chance to stretch my legs on the speedball field because I kind of caught the bug last year. I think it was last year when you and I played a 3-man tournament. Like I think it was just like we both randomly ended up on a team. It was
well, what we did was street ball. So we basically put everyone's name into a hat and drew names for the teams, and it was our team that kicked ass. But it was a lot of fun, and I think that's a great way. Like you just nailed it right there. You talked about introducing the sport to different demographics. You know, you got introduced to it that way, and you had a ball. In order to bring new players into it, we almost have to get the advanced players, split up the advanced players because there's only a handful of them, and then allow some younger players and some intermediate players to mix in with the advanced players to learn. And one thing that we did at Mission that was, people still talk about it to this day, we had a 7-man tournament, and it was totally street ball. So we took the advanced players that were there that day, divided them up into different teams, and then we drew for names and put 7 versus 7. And back then there was enough player to do 7-man, but now I think if we were to focus on 3-man, Big era for paintball was when Spikes was pushing the Atlantics, so they had the Atlantic Championship every year, and we would have 20 teams minimum for the Atlantic Championships every year at the end of the summer. It was the big era for paintball, and this was right before kind of 5-man came into the scene, and then X-ball, so I think we need to kind of go backwards again with speedball, because a lot of these players have quit the sport, or they've only played reball. They've never really even played paintball. So it's about introducing the younger kids back into it, and then getting a new blood, a new injection of speedball players introduced to the game. And the best way to do that is going to be with street ball. So we've decided July 4th. So the U.S. Patriots Day, July 4th, we're going to be doing a 3-man's street ball. So we're going to break up the guys from Hustle, a couple of the old school strict guys, and some of the Northport guys and Spartans, and then divide up the players based on, drawing names. And you're going to form teams. It's going to be for fun. We'll have trophies and prizes, and keep it really affordable for the players. Awesome. And I think that's how we're going to introduce and grow the sport.
And I think that's the idea of, encouraging the guys from Hustle, the Spartans,
Northport.
Thank you. Northport, like encouraging those guys to come up and then going, you can't play together. It's like, it's you're, we're going to team. And every team might end up with, you might have somebody that they've only ever played MagFed, and now they're dipping their toe into some speedball, and they're going to be coached by somebody who's been playing speedball for years. Like, it's a really great way to help with that. And then, there's no fear. There's no worry about that team of 3 guys who have no idea what they're doing going up against Hustle, who is just like, we can get this done in 6 seconds. It's you're not going to worry about that. I can't wait for it.
Well, we're not going to build the sport that way, and our speedball scene is so small right now. I think I don't even think there's enough 5-man teams to do a tournament. So we have to go backwards, scale it back, go back to 3-man, build 3-man, and then eventually in the fall have a big Atlantic Championship. We hope to host one of those again. 3-man open, and then a rookie division. So 2 divisions. By that point, we'll have enough teams to really kind of grow, and then get away from the league, where everybody's tied into playing one league. Get into like the standalone tournaments again, where you have
bring back the one-day tourneys.
Yep, the one-day tournaments. Bring back the format where people actually had to show up and walk the field. This is the field layout. We're using, Vegas, 2017. Like, you do a layout that people haven't played before. They haven't had a chance to practice, but you set it up that day. Yeah. So when they arrive, they have to walk the field. They have to strategize, and the best team of that day wins the tournament. So, that's what we hope to bring back, and I think the big era for us was that period, which was 15 years ago. Let's go back to that time. Yep. So bring back some big pride. Back to fun, keep it affordable, and
the one-day tournaments are just so much more affordable, because that was one thing that you heard a lot last year, especially around here, was like, man, like, where is everybody? It's like, oh, well, they can only afford to play on these 5 particular days because each one of those dudes is going to shoot 6-7 cases each. Like, so all their money was funneled into these 5 days of paintball across the entire season. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of us just ragtag wandering in and be like, yeah, bag of paint, woo, and going to playing paintball. So I really want to see that one-day tournament come back. That's such a great idea. Yeah. Darren Clark's asking, any plans to open fields in other parts of the province? Maybe also an association to see it expand here. So is there any chance that Maghill 2.0 might open up somewhere else?
That's a great idea. I mean, there has been a lot of talk about Halifax region. Mersey Road used to have, a bit of a scene out there for speedball. I think Hypersports was talking about it for a little while, and then they developed kind of their concept fields, which is another great field. There really needs to be a partnership between the fields, getting another field together and then developing it that way. I think that's probably the best way to look at it. I don't know if we have the player base right now to be able to support. I
don't think there's enough players.
Yeah,
Atlantic
you're right. I think we need to take our time and rebuild it again. Yeah. Keep it affordable and rebuild the sport. So our hashtag and our mantra since we've started has always been building paintball, hashtag building paintball, because in order to grow, you need to have a home field. And that's what we've done from the beginning. We've really kind of put everything into our field, invested in the players, found people great deals on gear, and grown the sport. So that's it.
100%. Yeah, it's one thing I seen that has gone away, and I hope it stays away. And I saw it having almost immediate detrimental effects. This was 5-6 years ago now, I think. Let me think now. Like 5-6 years ago. Every weekend was an event. Like every field was like, this is going to be this weekend is this scenario or this event or this quote unquote big game. And it got to the point where like it just turned into walk-ons with names, and so many people got burnt out on it. And they were like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this walk-on or this big game. I'm going to pay $25, $30 entry plus paint. And it's capture the flag. It's a walk-on. That's gone away. But I think that might have been one of the big things that really hurt the sport around here, because people were just getting tired of it and they kind of just flitted away with it. And, so I'm like the chat is blowing up right now. People are loving the idea of just street ball. Tyler just keeps spamming the chat.
And Tyler is all about the street ball too, because I think he's going to be one of the captains. So somebody's going to be lucky enough to play on Tyler's team, and the bragging rights that are going to be associated with taking some newbies and like intermediate players, mixing up with the advanced players, and then winning it is going to be worthwhile for the guys that are going to be investing to play in it, and the advanced guys. If you think about it, if their two intermediate and rookie players get shot out and they're alone, and they're playing like 3-on-1 and they pull it off, and they're superheroes, so
right.
It's going to be great practice for the advanced players as well. And we've been looking into making paint super affordable, and then having a really good quality three-star or equivalent paint for a reduced price for these events to be able to get people into it, so it's not always about making profit. It's not always about like, and making money, there's some times where you have to, take loss leaders like many stores do, and like not make money on days like that in order to grow the sport. And then we hope to do lots of days where we really can just, step back from trying to profit, like a lot of fields have done and a lot of businesses have done. And you know what? At the end of the day, a lot of those companies are not here anymore.
Right. Yeah. So, make those walk-ons your bread and butter, right? Like make your money on your walk-ons, and then, if you want, like you said, holding that, bringing in that 3-man street ball tournament and being like discount on paint, and just watch the people flood in. Because when you mention cheap paint,
let's grow the sport. Right? Talk about that walk-on last weekend. Not one complaint of cheating, not one complaint of overshooting, not one complaint of anything really. I mean, the environment, the attitude, the people. The sport needs to have more events like that. We need to have more of a community where everybody comes together, and it doesn't just have to be at at our field. I mean, obviously, PEI's got a couple of great fields. Spikes is still out there, and they've got a great facility. Love to see an event out there. Big game at Spikes Field, a big game at Crossfire, a big game Hyper Sports. We were the first event of the year. We all went and supported Atlantic Extreme, which is another field in our region. So
great
we were out there playing, and a great field as well. So it's about the community getting together and supporting the events when we have it, because we are just a small community.
We're just an itty bitty little thing.
We're so tiny.
It's true. You see, I see the posts because I got buddies all over Canada, and you see them, and they're like, they're posting up like playing the same field every weekend, because their community is so large, and they have those fields, right? They've got these big fields, and they go to that same field every weekend. And it's here in the Maritimes. I mean, once we're allowed to travel, it's not uncommon for me to go play. Like I'll play Maghill on a regular basis. I would in the past. I would wander my way into Seabreeze probably twice, maybe 3 times a year. Try and play some paintball at Hillsborough when they fire back up.
Sad to lose. Remember that field? Long Reach Paintball was nice.
Oh my God, Long Reach was amazing.
Peninsula, those guys, Matt Jones, I think was
Yeah.
his name. Yeah, they had such a great field, a great community. I mean, there must have been. We went to a walk-on there, and I think there was probably 60 or 70 players. You know, it was huge.
I think the biggest I ever saw was 130 players at their field.
Yep.
Yep. Like that had to have been every paintballer in Atlantic, Canada.
I think so. Yeah, I might have been at that game too. I mean, like, they had some great games, and
they did.
And it was sad to see them go. I think they had lifestyle changes and they pivoted. But
yep.
You know, you need to support the local fields. You know, like they without our fields, you know, we don't have a scene. You know, without paintball fields to support, we have no scene in Atlantic Canada. And,
absolutely.
And getting players out, you know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think they were doing what you're doing now. Was their field was always growing, and I don't mean like outwards, but they would always build something new, but it was always something of value. I remember their first season we went and they had picnic tables on dirt. Like they built some really nice bunkers. The field was well built.
Yeah.
Luckily they had farm equipment to like move earth, so they made some really cool stuff. And then the next year, well, that dirt was now all gravel, and they had more picnic tables. And then the year after that, their where they stashed all the paint, they had like put down a concrete slab and like built a little building for themselves. Like they just kept,
center.
Yeah, they just kept getting it bigger and better, and it got so good. And then it was time for they were like, hey, we're moving on, and they shut it down. And I was heartbroken. It was such a good field.
It was a sad day for sure. And they had a 2.5 Army truck. And I mean, I wanted to go and scoop that up because I think we were just getting started and it was already gone. I mean, people.
Oh, yeah. No, that boom, gone.
Gone,
right? Aaron Nelson's in the chat from Atlantica Outdoor Recreational Center in Hillsborough. Or Atlantica ORC.
We went to play winter football. Remember that? It was a great time. Scott had introduced us to the winter games that they had out there, and that was a lot of fun.
That is their specialty. I mean, they run a really great paintball game outside of that, but I mean, like when it's January and it's like -25, and you're just like, man, I could play some paintball.
That indoor facility.
Atlantica's just like, we have a heated staging area, and you're just like, oh, buddy, let's go play some paintball in January.
Let's do it.
And then you walk outside and your marker freezes and just shits the bed completely, and then you're just like this. But whatever, it doesn't matter. You went paintballing in the winter.
It was fun to Superman dive into the snow, though. I'll tell you that. You know,
right? We went to Hillsborough one time. Oh my God, it was ridiculous. We went and we stayed at the in-laws' place, picked up the brother-in-law, and then we went we decided to go paintballing, and it was like -30 with like blizzard-like conditions, and we showed up, and I remember Aaron being like, "Oh shit, you actually came? Okay." We'll get you some paint. You guys can go play some paintball. It was nuts. It was absolutely ridiculous. So it just goes to show that where there's a will, there's a way, and it can absolutely happen. So cool, man. That's pretty much wrapping it up. We're at the hour mark, so we'll wrap it up there. Anything you want to shout out? I mean, obviously your field, but like.
Well, I want to thank Brian Photography for sure, and Tim's company is called Boundary Threads. Wearing the shirt, piping it up.
Do they make hats?
Yeah.
I need another hat.
Yeah, they've got hats, they've got beanies, they've got T-shirts. You know, so Boundary Threads is the other brand that he does, and we're big supporters of it here. You know, shout out to Hustle. You know, to Vulcan, of course, to Badlands. And the new guys around the block, Colder Distribution. You know, we've just kind of been negotiating with these guys and talking to these guys, and they are the Lux and Shocker, you know, distributors for Canada. And they also do that new line of art paintball. So we're excited to see what that looks like. You know, I think you were talking about that the other day about demoing out some of that Commander paint. So
yeah, I've got. I have a undisclosed amount from an undisclosed location coming to me. I've actually been instructed not to say who's sending it to me, which is kind of fun. It's all super secret.
Like yeah.
It's really not. It's just they're sort of like, we don't want the other paint people to know we're bringing this in. I'm like, okay, no worries. But yeah, I'm super pumped to test out this new Commander Meg-fed paint. I looked into the company, and I guess it's like a Russian pharmaceutical company or something. Like it's
since 1997. Since
yeah.
1997. That tells you something. I mean, when you think about a paint brand, Draxis was, I think, founded that year, and Draxis became the GI Sports that we see today.
Yeah.
But that's how far they go back. Prior to that, what was it all? RP Shear. You know, that's what we shot. I mean, it was the Marbleizer paint by RP Shear, and you know, so 1997. That if they were to remain in the industry for that long, and you think of European paintball, Planet Eclipse, Angel, you know, WDP, these companies, these revolutionary companies came from Europe. So I'm pretty excited to see what this paint's going to look like. And
I think people forget that a lot of the big paintball stuff. I mean, paintball may have started in the United States, but like some of the leading companies right now are European.
They're all European. You know, you think of the biggest brand, even the most exciting magazine. I remember that really changed everything. Like APG was a big one, but it was Faceful. Do you remember Faceful?
I remember Faceful because Faceful, when I used to go to chapters, Faceful was always next to Action Pursuit.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I remember Faceful. That was great. I was just like, oh.
Yeah. It was just an artistic, very visual magazine for the first time for paintball. So, you know, it changed up the pages of some of the other, you know, Paintball Games International and like some of the earlier magazines, and gave you full color images, you know, like gratifying women, you know, holding paintball guns, you know, and like what just completely out of this world. What are you looking at? You know, really gave us. They made it high fashion. They made paintball high fashion.
They did. That's what they did. They made it look cool.
And then Hostile, you know, HK Hostile Kids, they kind of transitioned into that. So Faceful was kind of putting out these new advertising, you know, kind of spreads, you know. And I remember when they were doing them with Ollie Lang, and Ollie Lang used to play with the Iron Men.
They'd have them pose with the marker.
Well, yeah, I know. It was just unfamiliar, you know. We didn't see this before. We talk about an era of like hyperball and an era of like town tactical play, you know, like that's the original tournament circuit was really badass. These were grown men coming at you like with, you know, autocockers and automags, like very like hardcore game, you know. There weren't kids playing back then until the Iron Kids formed. And, you know, then you had like, you know, Ollie Lang and Ryan Greenspan and Alex Frazier and these kids that were like the next generation Iron Men coming into the scene when they were like 14, 15 years old and just, you know, take over the world. You know, these kids were so aggressive. They played a different style. And then airball was introduced, you know. So shortly after that, we started to see airball. But, you know, I remember going to tournaments, you know, went to Nashville and airball was introduced, you know, and the bunkers had hoses that connected to each other, you know, so you had rows of hoses and everything was connected. And, you know, people would lean on a hose for too long. The bunkers would
start to deflate.
So, it would start to deflate. And then JT came out with bunkers where they actually took fans, individual fans on individual batteries, and they hooked them up in each of the bunkers. So you had a 52-piece field. You had 52 computer fans built into the bunkers with battery packs that you'd have to charge. And I remember the field in Skiduk, Twitchy, Combat Zone Paintball. They were one of the first ones to have one out here, and that field had those little fans, and the fans would get shot, and then the bunkers would stop working, and you know, it was a different time. For sure.
It was a lawless wasteland, is what it was. Like early paintball was just like, who cares? There's no regulation. Let's just do whatever we want, and whatever sticks stays. And the guns weighed
10 pounds, you know, like the original impulses with the like drop forward, and the big tanks, you know. Like,
the old drop forwards weigh as much as my mini. Like, oh man, they were wild. The old tanks too. It might as well just been a scuba tank that you were carrying around, like because they were, you know, huge. Oh man. Yeah, it was.
I love talking paintball history. I mean, like, you know, being around for so long, I've just seen the evolution and been part of it, you know. It's nice to, you know, you should probably get Jeff McDonald on your show sometime.
Jeff McDonald
is still PEI, traveling and playing international tournaments with the All-Americans. And he would be one. I'll hook you up with Jeff, and you should talk to him, get him on the show, because he's still playing at a top level competitive, you know, 10-man. So he's playing the old school era paintball. with Americans. And these guys are using the new CVOs by Adrenaline, and they're like the raddest mechanical gun, on the market. And straight out of Potato Land over there in PEI.
Straight out of Potato Land. Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll have to. Let's talk. Let's get that set up.
Have to get on your show. Sure.
All right. So, man, it's been a blast. Josh, thanks for coming on and chatting. I mean, your
always
field's
a great time.
Yeah, your field's been kind of like the focus of all my social media for the past 2 weeks. I was like, I should probably get Josh on. Let's chat. So thanks to everyone who stuck around in the comments, chit-chatting away with us. Those of you who've decided to hang around long enough, and especially thank you to anyone who's downloaded or streamed the audio and is currently listening like in their car or something, wishing that they could interact with me and like screaming because I said something wrong or I called a product wrong and they're just trying to correct me. That's it. I'm out of here. So it's been a blast. Keep an eye out on YouTube. The vlog from the Maghill event will probably hit YouTube tomorrow or the next day. I'll get that out there. And then I've got a gear bag video coming up. I decided to finally do a video on my actual, like, what I take to a paintball field. And it's 14 minutes long of me just pulling shit out of a bag. So let's see if I can make that entertaining. We'll see. We'll see. But that's it. I'm out of here. So thank you so much. Josh, thanks again, man. It was a blast.
Thanks for having me. Good seeing you, man.
We're out of here. Cheers.
Alrighty. Later.
There we go. Yeah, man.